Well, it's very nice to be here. I mean, it's kind of, I've always been very fortunate, actually, that America has kind of always treated my films really, really well, you know. And so it's very special, actually, to be here. I mean, I don't make that many films actually here, but they're always received with open arms, you know. Not always, you know, critically sometimes, and rightly so, but always with enthusiasm. So, very privileged to be here, really.
How do you feel about AFI doing a tribute to your work?
Well, you worry about it. Your initial reaction is, what? I've only just started. I mean, that is you think, no, that can't be right. Something, you know, because you think you just started. But then, of course, you realise when they put them all together, you think, yeah, there's a few films there. I feel very privileged that they take them seriously enough to honour them with some kind of identity, really, because it sort of gives them an identity, putting them all together, because you don't think about that yourself so much. You tend to think about the one you're working on at the moment. You don't tend to think about the accumulation of them.
Yeah, because all your films are so different from the last one. And do you have a particular approach or philosophy towards the stories that you choose to make or to choose to tell, really?
Yeah, I kind of try to make a big change every time. I don't like thinking in terms of genres or anything like that, though inevitably that happens sometimes, switching genres or whatever, but I try to always do something that's a great contrast. It's just a very human thing. When you're steeped in something for a couple of years, it's wonderful and a great privilege to be able to change direction and try something different, you know.
How was filming in Mumbai for you?
Well, that is an amazing. I hope you see the film, you'll get an impression of the city, at least partially. It's an amazing place for a filmmaker to turn up. It is like New York. I first went to New York in the 80s, and that's the only comparable experience I've ever had, where you just sense a city vibrating everywhere around you. And it's extraordinary that you get the chance to photograph some of it, you know, that you get a chance to set your story in it, you know. And you could never be bored in the place. There'd be something, if you're bored, there's something wrong with you. There really is, you know, and you should seek medical attention immediately.
I done this small show in London called Skins, and I was a character in that. But obviously, it's a totally different experience being plucked out of London and thrown in the chaos of Mumbai, and you know, the new lead in that guy's film. And yeah, it was a lot of pressure, to be honest, but yeah, I really matured in the process, I think, you know, handling it and stuff like that. So it was really good fun.
Danny believes in a lot of subtlety, and he believes that you can express a lot more just by not saying too much, you know. So I think his biggest challenge was to tone down my exaggerations, because as a Mumbaiite, as someone from India, you are very exaggerated and you do have a lot of loud facial expressions. So for him, it was all about internalization and kind of bringing it all from within. And I think that was the best lesson I could learn from Danny, doing it from within. And that's the truest place. When you get it from deep down in your heart, that is the truest place.
I've got a lot to owe this guy, because you know, he gave me basically my first real gig in this business way back when. It was actually, I was 22 years old. I was 13 years ago. So, you know, I'm in town, and of course I'm going to be here just to come and celebrate with him, you know. I haven't seen Danny in 12 years. And he's got a bit more grey hair, but he looks exactly the same as when the last time I saw him at the premiere of Trainspotting. That was the last time I saw him.
Over there, we only finished shooting the movie in February, and we've been very busy cutting it. So it's been really quick. We went to Toronto, and then to have the honour of coming here as well is a real thrill for us. And the movie's been getting very favourable reactions from people. And that's nice, you know, because you make films particularly in post-production, in a very small group of people. And you never really know, you know, we like it, is anyone else going to like it? So this is a great opportunity to show the work to other people, and hopefully they'll enjoy it too.
It's not a retrospective of every song Andre's ever recorded. It's truly a snapshot, a year in his life, as we were able to participate in it with him. And, you know, it's got a lot of rough patches in terms of the choices that he made that really put him in some at times dangerous situations.
Well, it's been discussed by Anna Colnew as being hilarious and harrowing. It's an interesting ride with Andre Williams, because he is quite an energetic, charismatic guy. He's inspired by Cab Calloway, and it's just really amazing to spend a year with Andre and see his ups and downs, and to see him go along this path that maybe isn't the best because of his life choices, but rooting for him all the way that he will get his act together and really transcend his decisions. And
Well, the idea for the game really came out of my own experience as a high school student who was in Colorado at the time of the shooting at Columbine, someone who grew up playing video games and listening to Marilyn Manson and these kinds of things that our culture then really pinned the blame on after an event like Columbine. And as a politically powerless teenager, I wasn't really in a position to criticize the sort of dominant cultural reading of why this shooting occurred. As I got a little bit older, I realized that this video game creation software gave me the opportunity to really challenge in a different way a lot of the assumptions people had by showing them into the last day of the life of these two shooters. So in a way, the game was about an event that was blamed on by video games. So it's sort of postmodern in that way, but the idea for the film then, years later, came out of the experiences that I had having made the game, a lot of the support that it got, the criticism that it drew, and I realized that it wasn't just about this one game, that in fact there were many video games that were confronting challenging issues like the crisis in Darfur, the World Trade Center attack of 9/11, pedophilia and the priesthood. These aren't exactly comfortable subjects, but in this film you meet the designers of these games, and they talk about why games like the Columbine game and others are important for social change.
This film is about children, they're teenagers, 11 to 14 years old boys that are in the correctional facility for committing different crimes, including everything from stealing food to murder. And we try to follow their stories. And they share their stories with us, and the most fascinating thing that that shocked us really and inspired to make this movie is that they actually prefer being in prison more than they like staying home. And we're trying to show with our film that even though societies and everyone else around them sees them as criminals, they most of all are just children who are just need more attention and love, and we're just trying to raise awareness.
It's my first feature film, and Mary Elizabeth Ellis and Cy Carter's first feature film, and not Rita Taggart's first feature film. But we're really excited to be here at AFI, and we've been working on it for some time. This is the first time we're going to show it in LA.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to question things, you know, to ask questions, and there seemed to be something happening, particularly over the last 8 years, that it became politically incorrect to question our government or question the news media or religious leaders, and I think that those three groups are three groups that should be held to a higher standard of questioning. You know, that our government is an elected. People are elected. They're not put into office because they were born from royalty. You know, we don't have a kingdom. We have a democratic government that people are put into office by choice. So if those people that are representing us, because it's a representative government, are not representing the ideals and the beliefs of the country, they should be questioned. They should be held accountable.
Nick Simon, I directed the film.
Bruce Cherry, I was the lead actor.
Leon Carswell, my character is Vietnam.
Michael Griffin, editor.
Jing, his girlfriend in the movie.
Robert Conowalo, I don't know, jack of all trades, what would you say?
Jack of all, God. Todd Serlin, writer and producer. Sorry, I forgot. Screenwriter and producer.
The film is basically based on Ashtray and Bruce, sort of his real life. It's kind of like all wrapped up in one really awful day, but it sort of like follows his really awful day through his life as a street performer. It's basically the whole.
But I mean, I had a girlfriend in the film. I never had a girlfriend in the street coming up, but thank God I had a good-looking girlfriend for the film. But you know, it's just my regular life.
It's definitely a movie.
It's definitely a movie, exactly.